Hi everybody, I am Laura Houston, and I'd like to welcome you to our 5th and final day of ScholarTalks. We are here at Sunkist Elementary School in the amazing Anaheim Elementary School District. So some of you may be wondering, what is a Scholar Talk? It's exactly what it sounds like. It's a talk given by a scholar. And what is a scholar? A scholar is somebody who studies and is curious and researches and practices and works really hard in school and in life. Now, the talks that you are going to hear today, the topics were decided and chosen by the students themselves. They had the assignment of share something important to you. That's it. Any topic, any subject. Share something important to you. As you listen to these speeches today, I invite you to ask yourself these questions. What is important to me? What would I give a scholar talk about? Because next year it might be you up here on this stage. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our first scholar. His name is Zachary, and Zachary is a 6th grader at Madison Elementary School, and he will be speaking on the subject of Boeing 737 MAX crashes explained. Let's welcome Zachary.
Have you ever wondered why the 737 MAX crashed not just once, but twice in 2 years? Well, this is what I'm going to be explaining today. Hi, I'm Zachary. And this all started off when Airbus, Boeing's main competitor, released a new version of their very popular narrow-body airliner, the A320. The A320 was a very popular narrow-body airliner for mostly budget airlines. This new version was called the A320neo. The A320neo would save airlines money by having better fuel efficiency than the last model. The way they got this done is by adding bigger engines on the normal A320 body. For Airbus, this was not a problem because the A320 was already pretty tall of an aircraft. So once Boeing saw this, they needed to release a new aircraft to compete with the A320neo. Boeing planned on doing the same thing with their very popular narrow-body airliner, the 737-800 or 737-8. But Boeing putting bigger engines on their 737-800 would soon cause problems with the aerodynamics of the plane because the 737 was not as tall as the A320, therefore leaving less space for a bigger engine under the wing. Because of this, Boeing had a problem putting bigger engines under the 737-8 wing. So they resorted to a different option of putting a little bit of the engine above the wing. Which, as you can tell, will ruin the aerodynamics of what the plane was originally designed for. Because of this, Boeing had to install a new system which they called MCAS, Maneuvering Characteristics Augmentation System. What MCAS would do is when the pilot would pull up on the plane too much, MCAS would push down, fighting against the pilot's force to stop them from stalling and crashing. But because Boeing was so pressed on time to release this new aircraft, they never even warned the airlines about the new system. Therefore, when MCAS would kick in during flight, MCAS would push down, and the pilot didn't know what it was. They had to assume that it was a failure. So when they skimmed through the 737 MAX handbook, when they saw MCAS, this meant nothing to them because MCAS was never on the previous Boeing planes. As you can start to see where this is going now. MCAS would push down after the pilot would pull up too much, and this would keep going and repeat until the plane has crashed. This is how the 737 MAX was ruined by business being prioritized over safety. Thank you.
Thank you, Zachary. I can only imagine all the research that you had to do in order to put that speech together. I'm very impressed, and I learned a lot. So our next speaker, we have Shannon. And Shannon is a 6th grader at Horace Mann Elementary School, and she will be speaking on the important subject of animal abuse. Welcome, Shannon.
Today I will be talking about animal abuse, because anywhere I go I see abandoned animals. I really think that there should be more people taking care of animals because it is not okay, and there are many times people
And maybe think about your favorite part of your speech that you wanted to share about.
abusing zoo animals is not okay because having animals in cages is not a good idea because animals can get very defensive sometimes. And if anyone has to go into their cages to clean up their droppings or feed them, the animals can hurt them. Abusing zoo animals is also not okay because if you hurt an animal, the animals' families can get very depressed and perish. Abusing zoo animals is a crime, and it is a crime to see animals suffer. I really think that more people should be helping animals because even though there are some people that do help animals, there are more animals that need help than the amount of people already helping them. You can help by doing something as simple as building a birdhouse for birds. You can also have fun by digging a burrow for any small animal to live there and be safe. You do not necessarily need to take an animal with you to be considered helping them. These are just some ways you can help, but keep in mind there are many other ways to help. Abusing zoo animals is not okay, and it is not good, as well as people poaching. Poaching of animals is illegal, and it is a crime to see animals suffer. Poaching can also have animals injured. I am speaking for the animals, and I hope you will too. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shannon. Shannon, you did an excellent job, and your message did come across. I know even though she said she didn't remember her whole speech, but your message came across, and we definitely love animals at my house. We're an animal household, and I bet a lot of you do too. So thank you for that important speech. You did a great job. Our next speaker, our next scholar, his name is Ahmad, and he is a 5th grader at Loera Elementary School, and he is going to talk with you on the subject of procrastination. So welcome, Ahmad.
You are playing your favorite video game when you realize it's the last day to study for the big test tomorrow. 1 week later, you get your result and you can see a big F on your paper. This is the result you get when you procrastinate. Hello, my name is Ahmad, and I want to speak to you about procrastinating. One may ask, what is procrastinating? Procrastinating comes from the origin word procrastinare, which means to put off until tomorrow. But what is procrastinating? Procrastinating is when you delay a task you have to do and instead do other things such as watching videos or playing video games. Everyone has once in their life procrastinated, whether that would be school-related or personal activities. It is a habit that has a start, and it is a habit that you can overcome. Some ways to prevent procrastinating is to break down hard tasks into small parts. When your work or assignment is too difficult, we prefer to procrastinate. But if it's broken down, you can take it one step at a time and avoid being overwhelmed. You can start making timelines or plans to help with the measure. Committing to the task is another way to prevent procrastinating. Make sure no one will disturb you or even turn off your Wi-Fi if you have to. I believe the best way is to promise yourself a reward, like something good to eat or anything else you like, once you have completed your work. This will get you more motivated to do the task and will not bore you that easily. If you stop being a procrastinator, it will be more likely you will get better grades in school and you might even be happier in life. We hear that technology makes it easier to procrastinate, said Dr. Ferrari. Right now, many people blame technology and especially the internet for the rise of procrastination rates over the past few years. Procrastinating does not mean you're lazy or inefficient. There are 4 main types of procrastinators. The delayers are the ones which basically procrastinate. The second ones are the perfectionists. The perfectionists get to a task, but they never finish it because it is not as good as they want it to be. The third ones are the distractibles. The distractibles get distracted easily by games, technology, toys, etc. Lastly, the busy ones. The busy ones have too much work and delay all their work just to finish one assignment. If you call yourself a chronic procrastinator, which means you frequently put stuff on delay, you may have a specific disorder. They all have the same consequences but are different. Instead of procrastinating, just do your assignment on time and learn it correctly, because it gives you a better chance of not failing. It's easy to procrastinate and can be hard to overcome, but there are ways to overcome it. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Ahmad. That speech was fascinating. I have never taken into account that there were 4 different types of procrastinators. And I loved what you said about, possibly promising yourself a treat or something just to get yourself to finish the task. Thank you so much. Well done. For our 4th and final speaker today, we have Angelina. And Angelina is a 5th grader at Olive Street Elementary School, and her speech is entitled, "Colors Are for Everyone." Welcome, Angelina.
Have you ever heard that pink is for girls and blue is for boys? Well, I'm here to tell you the history behind this and why I think it's wrong. I would like to say that the stereotype is way too overused. Not only is it overused, but it can also have a negative impact on the children who it's often pushed onto. From a very young age, before they are able to speak about what they like or do not like, children are taught this rule. In fact, before they're even born, this rule can be applied. Which brings me to my first subject, gender reveals. Gender reveals are generally considered a cute idea and a nice surprise for friends and family. However, it can come to be a problem when the colors pink or blue are used to represent an entire gender, when in fact, not everyone in that gender will like that color. Any parent who does this is likely to do the same color coding for the child once it's born, such as blue or pink baby clothes, blue or pink toys. The sad part is, most parents do not realize this is harmful to their child's creativity and identity. This can cause the child to not want to express themselves by wearing what they want just because of the color. This can also cause the child to fear that there's something wrong with them if they find they dislike the color meant to represent them. If a girl likes blue, she's often labeled a tomboy, and if a boy likes pink, he's often labeled as not manly enough. Constantly dealing with these standards can cause self-esteem issues, especially in boys. So now we know why it's a problem. However, what we have not covered is the history behind it. So with that, our next topic is the history behind it. Answering questions like, why these colors? Or when did this trend start? And finally, why do we follow this so strictly? Well, it all started in 1940 when pastel colors were starting to become popular. At the time, these were not meant to suggest gender and were simply popular for their light color. It was not until later on that media sources started to suggest gender-appropriate colored clothing. The original assignment was blue for girls and pink for boys. This was because blue was considered a pretty and dainty color for girls, and pink was considered a strong color for boys. This eventually changed because pink was closer to red, and red was considered a more romantic color. Girls were considered more emotional, so they swapped. Pink was for girls and blue was for boys. It has remained this way for a long time. However, in the 1960s, the women's liberation movement put an end to these color stereotypes. Unfortunately, not too long after that, the companies that made and sold clothes for babies realized they could be making profit by selling the color stereotype. They decided to try it out, and unfortunately, they succeeded in selling the stereotype, and everyone began to follow the standard. The standard has stood till this day. Finally, the end subject is going to be a compilation of my own opinions and thoughts on the matter. As a girl who dislikes pink, I've been called a tomboy many times. I do not particularly mind this label, however, I feel that you should not be called less of a female than someone else just because of what colors you like. It's completely absurd. I've always dreaded shopping for clothes knowing that more than half the girls section would be covered in pink, rainbows, and unicorns. I wonder why I never see such things in the boys section. Why are video games and blues considered more for boys than pinks and unicorns? I do not understand how a color is meant to represent an entire gender. It is only a color after all, which is why I believe colors are for everyone, despite their gender. Girls can like blue just as much as boys can like pink. It doesn't make them any less or any more a girl or boy. Thank you.
Angelina, what a beautiful and wise talk you just gave to us. And I bet that makes a lot of us think, we didn't really think about that origin of blue and pink. Thank you for sharing that. Well, Angelina was our last speaker for today. Why don't we give all of our scholars a big round of applause? You all did a wonderful job, and I know that your teachers and parents and I and your families are all very proud of you. I would like to thank the teachers and the parents and administrators for supporting this ScholarTalks event this year. And I would just like to say I am so happy that we did it. This was our very first ScholarTalks event ever in Anaheim Elementary School District. And the students never ceased to amaze me. They did an amazing job. So I will see you next time, probably on another show on our YouTube channel. So with that, I will say goodbye and thank you to everyone. Bye-bye.